So change of plans today. As if you cannot hear it, you probably will. I'm sick, and it hit me out of nowhere. No warning, no nothing. Just decided to say, hey, we're gonna make sure you're sick today. So
So we moved a couple things up and around. And so we're going to do the Yorkshire Ripper early.
yep.
So trigger warning for murder. I don't want to necessarily say essay because there's not necessarily essay in it. It's something adjacent to essay.
Okay.
Um,
If I'm out of it,
and then just
I
a terrible
apologize.
human being. Also, there will be an awful, terrible death. I will give you the heads up. It's the one that kept me up at night.
And
'Cause it's
today, just to mark, it's really not an anniversary. I don't think you want to look at it as it. I don't know. People look at deaths as anniversaries. As many may know, today is the anniversary of Walt Disney's passing. He was born on December 5th, 1901, passed away December 15th, 1966. He had just gone to the hospital, kind of like doing a little tidbit on him, like very short. Next year, I have a book that I do need to read. I have to read it because it's his autobiography pretty much. And so I've got to get to read that so next year I can do a proper thing for him. But he went to the hospital because he was an avid smoker. He was a chain smoker. So if you ever see a cast member, and I know I've said this in previous videos, do two fingers to point because every time Walt would point, he had a cigarette in his hand. So now they point with two fingers, not one, but two. So if you ever wonder why, that is why. But he went to the hospital, and from what I understand, they removed a lung, and then literally 10 days after his birthday, he passed away. So we were supposed to do that one today, but I told her yesterday to conserve my voice, I'm not talking as much. So we're trying to. It started hurting on Saturday a little bit. I wasn't feeling good at work
mm-hmm.
because I had told her and one of our teammates I'm just not feeling good, which is not normal for me to just be quiet and
Mm-hmm.
reserved. If I don't feel good, I go quiet. Then Sunday I get up, hard to swallow, my whole entire throat. Now it's just the left side of my throat. But
And so, because we're not doing the Disney one, I think what we're gonna do is either because Ed Gwyn's episodes are either gonna be there's gonna be 2 episodes of like pre-recorded episodes for Ed Gwyn,
mm-hmm.
and we might make it like a third episode where we talk about the movies because remember we're watching Psycho, we're
Oh God, that's
watching
right, I forgot.
Silence of the Lambs,
Which I've seen.
Lemon Juice, and Honey Slightly Warm.
Yes.
We're watching the one that's not on the ones that are not edited for TV, so we're gonna see the whole thing.
Like I have seen Silence of the Lambs. I have seen that one. Psycho, I have never seen Psycho. Which I'm down for
We
the
also might watch the American Horror Story, not the American Horror Story, the person who made
like
American Horror Story, the director, he did a new series called Monsters where they talk about Ed Gwyn. It's of course very dramatized.
mm-hmm.
I do appreciate how at the end of the series they clarify that Ed Gwyn was not somebody who wanted to be a woman.
Oh,
He
okay. Never heard of that. You're saying to do my
huh,
favorite Jello, but don't add the cold water and then add honey and drink it like that. Never heard that. I do
um
have honey tea, by the way.
yeah.
I do have.
We got a Ding's tea.
Okay.
But it that he loved women, I'm putting quotations around loved women, so much that he wanted to be one, be inside of a woman. It's kind of like and the
Is
person
that
that
where you
they
start
had,
doing the skin?
yeah, kind of. It's a very interesting idea that they talk about, and I'm glad they did that part in the show because it was getting really confusing in the beginning. Um, but yeah, no. we're gonna watch those, and then we'll do just like a live, not a live video, pre-recorded, because I think that's gonna be during our period. It's in April, so
Oh,
it's gonna
I'm
be
moving. Yeah.
so it's gonna be a pre-recorded one. So like we'll watch um the movies and stuff. Like we'll do like on like, I don't know, I'll request like a Sunday off, and
Okay,
maybe
so
she can
fun.
request a Monday off, and we'll just watch them all together, and then later that Monday or whenever pre-recorded.
Maybe we
And
can watch it on Saturday too.
yeah,
Get home at 2.
yeah, and just start from
Like
there.
Saturday and do that.
And then you can make notes, I can make notes, we can talk about it, because Ed Gwynn heavily influenced that way I'm not having to write a whole other script, and we can have like a fun little,
Chat about the movies.
yeah, chat about the movies. And in case the Ed Gwynns do take a little bit longer, we can also use that to expand the Ed Gwynn
Yeah.
episodes.
Yeah, because I'm sitting here thinking of, um, I know I did, what, July I did the thing on Disneyland.
Uh-huh.
I'm thinking I might do the story behind rides. Because
Hmm.
I've already did the history of that. Why not do rides? That just popped into my brain because I know we're not that far out yet.
Yeah, yeah, I am writing the
But
marches. So this is gonna be, I think, the beginning of the pre-recordings for us. Because the last Q&A we like literally have 5 episodes from our like December Q&A, from our February Q&A,
mm,
to because the first episode in March is a Q&A, and then we have our first episode in April as a Q&A,
mm,
because I think that was going to be the last official one that we were going to be like live streaming, and
yeah.
all the rest were
So
pre-recorded.
you might see us wearing the same clothes.
Yes. But I will say, it's going to be an interesting thing. I'm, like I said, I'm in the middle of writing marches right now. I'm doing the Black Dahlia, and then I'm writing the one on the Long Island serial killer. Uh, I found out today when I started. I hadn't. I was just like, "Ooh, what's going on with his case?" Because he was arrested in 2023. Turns out he's going to trial in January of 2026. So I will be going back to that case periodically, and I may not be completely up to date when we do that episode, because I think that's the last episode in
April.
March. So
Yeah.
we may have like done a pre-recording of it. So we will see. We will see. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but this Yorkshire Ripper in is a European serial killer, and so in Europe and England specifically, when they call someone a Ripper, it's because they're bad, they're awful, they're notorious. He is considered a more modern Jack the Ripper type. He's in the 70s, so he's even later than the Blackout Ripper, and we all remember the Blackout Ripper.
Yes, we do.
Um, there are other reasons he's also referred to as the modern day Jack the Ripper, not just because he targeted sex workers like the Jack the Ripper and the Blackout Ripper, but also because he targeted sex workers. He was just particularly brutal with them, whereas he was more like brutal where, I hate to say this, Jack the Ripper had a methodology. It was very particular. It was very organized in a disorganized way. It was organized chaos with Jack the Ripper. Even with the Blackout Ripper, it was very much organized chaos. This is just chaos.
Mm.
So it is a very interesting case. But let's talk about this horrible, terrible, awful human being. Who
38 pages worth.
38 pages. That is how long. How many
38
pages I have on this
That's
person.
why we jumped on a little bit early. Because we're not sure how long this is going to go.
Yeah. So Peter William Sutcliffe is the Yorkshire Ripper's name. Hi, Thomas.
Hi, Thomas.
The Yorkshire Ripper's name is Peter William Sutcliffe. He was born June 2nd, 1946, and he was born in Shipley, West Yorkshire. His parents were John and Kathleen Sutcliffe. His dad was a baker, and his mom,
Candlestick maker?
no, his mom
Sorry.
was at the time what a normal mom was, a stay-at-home
Home mom.
mom. She would stay at home and take care of the pair's 6 kids.
Jeez.
The family was really average by all accounts. There's not a lot of evidence or abuse or neglect like others we've seen in the past. Of course, again, it's the 60s. Beating with a belt considered normal. Now we might say that's abuse. Now we would definitely say it's abuse, but back then it was seen as a normal form of discipline. So again, take into those accounts.
Even in the 80s.
Yeah. So, and there's also not any accounts of weird relationships with their parents like we've seen with other people before who've had that like weird, what was his name? Frank and Rose. Frank had that weird relationship with his mom.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Um
Incest.
there was something though that was poorly handled when he was a kid, and it had to do with Peter's parents. The Sutcliffe, and we will talk about that. The Sutcliffe kids were considered well adjusted in school, and they did pretty well. They had a lot of friends, and some played sports, and the neighbors really liked the kids. They weren't troublemakers, and Peter's brothers were considered picture perfect because they were the epitome of the 70s macho type.
Mm-hmm.
He had more of a bond with his brothers and dad because they were the epitome of maleness at the time. And Peter was not. He was the exact opposite. He kind of did his own thing. He was really smart. He wasn't a genius, but he wasn't struggling when it came to his studies. He never really applied himself. So he didn't put much effort in school and he didn't do well. And it wasn't because he wasn't smart. It was just he never wanted to put in the effort to study. It was just like, nah.
Sounds like me. I never really wanted to
He
study
was
either.
he was also very much into routines, and if something threw off that routine, he couldn't handle that very well, and he had difficulty changing things or his perception of things as he got older. Um, because that's like a change is a part of life, and he couldn't accept that change.
Mm.
He was a little bit of a loner, but that changes as he gets older. He kind of evolves, but he can't really hold normal relationships still, even when he has gotten that ability to talk to people.
Mm-hmm.
Even at home, he was quiet and shy. And when he was younger, he only really wanted to be around his mom, Kathleen. He bonded with her. It was still how normal kids bond with their parents, and it never crossed the line. But Peter wasn't interested in girls or dating or being intimate when he was a teenager, which is a little weird. But some people aren't just that into it. So there were
Mm-hmm.
real no early warning signs, as with other killers, as we've seen. Instead of dating, he was interested and was excelling in mechanical endeavors like fixing cars and motorcycles. And since he was so smart, he was good at it.
Mm-hmm.
By the age of 15 in 1961, he left traditional school and started to apprentice as an engineer with Fairbanks Brierley, which is a local engineering firm. You
Okay.
remember back in the day, you could just apprentice with somebody and you could become an engineer.
Like now thase days, you have to have like a
Like
degree or
you
go
have
to
to
school
go,
for it.
and like it's like an 8-year degree.
But then now the degrees don't matter.
Um, and so remember, he doesn't apply himself. So now he has to put in the effort to be an apprentice as an engineer,
Mm.
and he couldn't do it. He left the program after less than a year, and he never even got the title of apprentice
What happened?
because he didn't apply.
He just didn't.
He didn't work on it.
Like, nah.
He didn't. It was like, oh, I need you to put in the work to build this machine. I don't want to put in the work.
I'm smart. Why do I need to do that?
Exactly. By 16, he had left school and he had failed to excel in the apprenticeship, but he was still gaining confidence in his personal life. His father thought his social life got better because of his motorcycle, which he was really good at riding. He didn't seem to like authority, and he didn't like being told what to do. This meant he had to find peers to hang out with because he was gaining confidence, and his physical appearance also started to get worked on. Like he started to change how he looked. He joined the gym, working on his fitness and growing his features a bit, and he was getting out of his weird, awkward stage. So, a fun little fact about him, though, was
Sorry, I caught what you almost said. Fun fiddle fact.
yeah, fun little fact. Um, he tried to start a pop group at one point with some guy friends in the 1960s.
Okay.
The pop group didn't work out because he didn't put the work in.
You'll put the work in to kill people, but you won't put the work in.
Oh, he won't even put in the work to kill people. We'll see
my
what I mean with
lord.
that.
Oh my gosh.
Um, he would get fired really often. He would do something bad at work. Like he would make a mistake at work, and then he would just stop showing up after he made that mistake.
Okay.
He would sometimes just never show up again, which would leave the job perplexed as to why he left.
He's a keeper.
Yeah. He was so focused on his looks and confidence, he left everything behind, including a job. In 1965, he found a job that he really liked and he did stick with it for a while. And what I'm about to tell you, you might be able to understand why. In 1965, he found a job as a grave digger in Bingley Cemetery.
Okay.
He had 3 other jobs at the time.
Not only that, people were quiet and didn't say anything and didn't tell him what to do.
Exactly. He also had other jobs there at the time, so he wasn't just a grave digger. He was also other things there. He was pretty good at it. He didn't have too many disciplinary citations against him, aside from him being late all the time.
How is it hard to dig a grave?
His coworker,
How hard is that?
well, we're gonna get to some of the things that happened. His coworker, on the other hand, said that when he began, he was completely normal and it didn't bother anybody.
Okay.
But then as they got to know him, they realized he was like obsessed with death.
Oh Lord.
Um,
I'm coming back.
and they said it was far beyond normal, and it even made them uncomfortable. He was also found to open caskets before burying them to look at the bodies.
Cave.
He even stole bones from older graves and used them in pranks against his coworkers and random women.
That's just fucked up. Oh my god.
He also allegedly stole jewels and valuables from the dead. His
Ooh, that way I'm not good.
yeah. His coworker, Ted Nixon, said, but it soon became obvious what was going on. Someone was having a look in the coffins when the relatives had gone. So it would be their wake, and he would open the casket to look at them, and he would take the jewels from them then. Another coworker, Stephen
Excuse me.
Close, said that if Peter couldn't take a ring off a finger, he would just take the finger.
No.
Peter was infatuated with death, and it was said that he would look at a corpse and touch it,
He didn't become one of them people, did he?
and then he would eat his sandwich without washing his hands. One day, a female magistrate came in, and Peter had known her, and he took delight in opening her coffin. He apparently grabbed her face as hard as he could and said, "You won't be putting anyone else away, now will you, bitch?"
Damn. Apparently he don't like her.
Now, there is also the fact that Peter would talk about necrophilia. Like it was an
God.
everyday thing.
Oh my god.
Like asking if you like the newest movie that was released. Like that's how he would talk about it.
Wow.
He would throw it into casual conversation.
Yeah,
So,
you know necrophilia, man. You should give that a try. No thanks.
I will say there is no record of him actually performing
I don't care.
necrophilia. He just liked to talk about it.
Gross.
So in 1967, everyone was pretty done with Peter's shit.
You think? Should
So
have been done with this shit a long time ago.
they fired him because of his tardiness, because that was the only issue they could fire him on.
Okay. The man is talking about.
Do you know, fun fact, at morgues, they're more likely to hire women than men?
Well, because we don't want to have sex with dead people.
Yeah, exactly.
No
Now,
thanks.
now, even though he was
Don't know where that last was. Sorry. That's just gross.
Now, even though he was so disrespectful of the dead, it didn't mean he stopped getting jobs in it. He was not blacklisted from working at cemeteries. He got a job job as an assistant at the mortuary at Croft Road in Bingley. So now he had a job where there was more one-on-one time with the bodies.
Oh, Lord.
And he could touch them, it wouldn't be an issue. In this position, Peter was receiving the bodies and then washing them and preparing them in a way
No.
so the autopsy technician could do their job.
This is why Justin says I'm getting cremated.
Uh,
Thank you, Justin, for thinking of that for me. Cremation will work.
In this
I will never want to go to a morgue ever again.
so he would also sew the body back up, or he would wash organs for the autopsy person. He was still living with his parents and was not interested in socializing outside of the group he was in. He was again still kind of a loner
What,
at
the
this
Dead
point.
Society? Sorry. It was right there.
He would spend hours alone in his room, not coming out and not speaking to anyone on the phone or in person. And remember, he's in his late teens, so that's not technically normal.
No.
Now, weirdly, during this time, he seemingly became obsessed with his sister's moral welfare, and he would become annoyed and angry when men would pick her up on dates, and he just became really obsessed with his sister. There were also some mentions that he would talk about it at work a lot, and that was all he wanted to talk about, and that grossed people out.
Yeah.
What is? You're talking about your sister and her moral welfare.
Like, dude, why do you care about your sister's moral welfare? It's just,
Oh, congratulations to your youngest.
what happened?
Thomas is saying his youngest is graduating tonight, so he'll be on here until he has to.
Okay.
Okay.
Awesome. Congrats.
Um.
Oh, for everybody who doesn't know, I'm looking at the TV.
Yeah.
Wrong camera.
I got married.
She got married last Monday.
Yeah, last Monday.
So for my family that don't know, surprise.
Yeah.
I mean, I told everybody the day before. Well,
Yeah.
a few.
So there would so Peter had a close friend, 18-year-old Trevor Bird, who he met in 1966. He ended up meeting another friend later that year, and I will talk about her soon, because she is a very important, big part of his life.
Okay.
Between 1966 and 1972, Peter and Bird spent a ton of time together. When he
Is that the
wasn't
dude's name or nickname?
Peter Bird, Peter,
Okay.
and Peter and Trevor Bird.
Okay.
So I just started naming him Birds.
Okay, that works.
He wasn't working in the cemetery or in his bedroom. They were together drinking in pubs around West Yorkshire. Birds later testified against Peter at his trial and said they both spent time watching sex workers soliciting in Leeds and Bradford. And they said they had taken part or they would just watch them. Watch them work. He said on a couple of occasions Peter had assaulted or worse 2 sex workers in Leeds and Halifax, but he didn't do anything about it.
Okay.
They ended up stopping their friendship in 1972, and not long after that, Trevor got married. Now, the second friend that Peter met was 16-year-old Sonia Zerma. He met her while he was hanging out at a pub. He was 20 years old, and she's 16 again.
Ooh, 4-year difference.
Yeah. So, I will say it's just a little weird, a 20-year-old getting with a 16-year-old girl.
Perfect.
Just. So the two of them hit it off immediately, and they were of opposite personality types. Peter thought at this time his personality was shifting. He was becoming less of a loner and more outgoing and social. He was getting mouthier and more abrasive. He would say things to freak people out or get under their skin, while Sonia was quiet and reserved, and she was intent with speech interactions. She was excelling in school and had dreams of becoming a teacher. Peter, though, was not in school or applying himself with no real goals or aspirations of any kind. She was focused on her schoolwork to a fault, but despite all the differences, they had a strong bond immediately. They spent a ton of time together, and people felt like he was in love with her more than she was in love with him, and they started to date. Now, for the first traumatic event that was probably really, really big to him. If he was in his 20s, but your brain doesn't develop until what, you're 26?
25.
25.
At least that's what they say.
Yeah. So This shaped Peter's outlook and view on women. In 1969, um, his dad discovered that his mom was having an affair with the neighbor. Now, his dad found out and decided to publicly humiliate her in front of the kids and strangers. He found out where the two were planning on meeting up, which was a hotel, and he had the entire family show up. All the kids and himself were going to meet her. He knocked on the door, they opened the door to the hotel room, and he yanked her purse from her and pulled out a brand new nightie she had bought and showed it off to her kids. She was humiliated and devastated.
Wow.
Um, and this was formative for him because he learned in that moment you do whatever you want to catch her. You can humiliate her, you can do
Yeah.
anything, and there's not going to be really any consequences.
Repercussions, yeah.
Um, and it was heartbreaking because he saw his mom as an untouchable beacon of goodness, and his father cruelly showed him her flaws. This made him feel disgusted by women because he was obsessed with sex work now, and his views on them became that they were awful, that sex workers were awful and now lower than regular women.
And it's like
So
now,
he made a hierarchy of women, and sex workers were on the
and
bottom.
now if you try to do that where you catch your significant other with someone else
Mm-hmm.
and you marry, you can get them for adultery.
Mm-hmm.
But if you try to demoralize them, I think they think that that's not acceptable or something like
Yeah, you
that.
can't demoralize
You
them.
can't demoralize them and embarrass them now.
Um, da 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 da. So that's why they would just so him and this was again he was friends at Trevor with the birds at the time, and they would just cruise in their car and watch sex workers like on the street, like they were essentially zoo animals to them. Um, so he already had this bad view in women, and now he's not just viewing sex workers as below him; he's viewing all women as below him. Um, and so that's starting this descent into I hate to say it, madness. He was learning that subhuman people, aka women, can be punished cruelly and humiliatingly and essentially dehumanize them, and it's okay. This wasn't the only event that rocked Peter's view on women. Peter's brother Mick let him know that Sonia, remember the 16-year-old, was cheating on him with a boy who worked at the ice cream parlor. Now, I will say there was talk as if Sonia knew they were dating because there was talk that Sonia may not have realized they were dating. She
Oh
may have
wow.
thought they were just friends,
Oh,
um, and not actually, yeah,
he didn't make it clear.
yeah. So unknown if it was actually cheating or not.
Okay.
Um,
Right now she's got the benefit of the doubt.
yeah. Peter went to confront her about it, and he wouldn't confirm or deny it, and she was being she wouldn't confirm or deny it, and she was being evasive. And so that leads me to believe that she might not have known that she was dating him.
Yeah.
And also she could have been talking to the boy at the ice cream shop. They could have been friends,
Yeah.
something like
You're
that.
allowed to do that, by the way.
Yeah. So in this confrontation, after this confrontation, he was in a rage. So he left Sonia where she was, and he went and picked up a sex worker at the Royal Standard pub. He wanted to spite Sonia, but he changed his mind, and he changed his mind on the way to driving this woman back to her apartment after they made a deal.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, I'll give you the money back, just take me home. And she was like, can I keep the bigger bills and give you the change for it? So she went into the house and came out with two big guys. And these two big guys roughed him up and sent him on his way with no money.
Oh, snap.
A few weeks later, Peter saw the same woman at the pub and went up to her and was like, I haven't forgotten the incident, but if you put things right, there will be no hard feelings. And she laughed in his face and told everyone in the pub about what had happened that day. So he got publicly humiliated by a woman. Again, he already thinks women are subhuman.
Yeah.
It's a great sense of like everything's piling together. In 1969, it was no shock when the first attacks Peter perpetrated happened that year. He became obsessed with sex workers in a way that he was disgusted with them. He had conflicting feelings about them. He continued to hire sex workers during this time and also just watch them work and pick up men. I was kind of getting really stalkerish at this point. Like he would after work every
He
night
could have
just
been a pimp and did that job. He didn't have to do much.
yeah,
If he
he
could sit there and watch him, he could have just done that.
and he would just sit on the road and watch as men would go up to these women and then these women would take him off to a hotel room or anything. He would just sit there for hours after he got off of work.
Dude, pick
It was
a
yeah.
job.
According to On the Trial of the Yorkshire Ripper, Final Secrets Revealed by Richard Cobb, he would continuously boast about having sex with sex workers and was fascinated with the idea of women selling their bodies for money and found it hard to believe they charged so little for an act he was in such awe of.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's weird.
Which is a weird dichotomy to hold sex in a place of awe and reverence, but also view women as subhuman.
Yeah, if you have so much disdain for us,
Just sleep with men.
yeah, just go ahead. I mean, you were talking about necrophilia with the freaking dead people. Just do it with a live person.
So around this time is when his personality and behavior started to shift. He was becoming unpredictable and very angry all the time. And it culminated in September of 1969. He and Trevor Birds were at the usual pubs in the area of Bradford. And as he drove down the road from the pub to another pub, Peter saw what he assumed was a sex worker walking down the street. He made Birds stop the car and he got up and aggressively followed this woman and he followed her to St. Paul's Road. And Birdsall didn't do anything. He just stayed in the car, parked off to the side of the road. Like what is Peter doing? And suddenly, about 10 to 15 minutes after Peter had left the car, Peter ran back and he was breathing heavily and he told him to speed off. Uh, Birdswell started driving and Peter told him that he had hit a girl in the head. And Trevor was like, on purpose? And Peter went, yes. He claimed to have put a rock in a sock and swung it at the girl's head as hard as possible, and then proceeded to take the rock out of his pocket and throw it out the window. Birdsall was like, is she okay?
You're probably like, no, I
Um,
think she's dead.
and Peter responded with, of course she is. The old cow, I just wanted the money.
Oh, cow, my God.
Later at his trial, he said the reason he did this was because it was what he had to do with my mission, and I had been told sex workers were the scum of the earth and had to be gotten rid of. He started using the defense that God had told him to kill sex workers.
Okay, yeah, dude, do not use God to say he did that. You're gonna get what you get.
So, that woman he attacked, well, she was not okay. She wasn't dead.
You think?
Um,
Her,
she wasn't dead though.
her bell got rung.
Yeah, but she did memorize the license plate of the car as it drove away from her.
No, you didn't hit her hard enough.
And so she went to the police a few days later, and the police showed up at Trevor's
Wow.
door because the plate was attached to his car.
And I'm not saying he didn't hit her hard enough. Like I was
Mary
wanting
Magdalene,
him
I know.
to hit her hard enough. It's just apparently, dude, you did not hit her hard enough. Where you're not gonna think she's gonna wake up and memorize something.
Well, uh, the
What the crap?
Birds will explain that he was in the car and he told me what happened, but he says weird shit all the time. I don't know if he was lying to me. I never saw him do it. He went, I saw the rock, but I don't know. He says weird things to you all the time, and you're just like, I think he might. He could. Look at
And
maybe.
you're hanging out with a man that says weird. I say weird shit half the time. I mean, she married in my family, but I still have friends.
Um. So he then gave the police Peter's address, and so the police went to Peter's place and asked him about it, and he admitted to it. But he said he didn't hit her with a rock. He hit her with his fist.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, desensitized by his dead body talk, probably. So he said which to me is a little bit worse, okay? Hitting somebody with a rock, you're using a weapon. Hitting somebody with your closed fist,
That's still
now
a
you're
weapon.
getting personal. But okay.
It's still assault.
So the
No matter
police
what.
left with no other issue. They didn't arrest him, they didn't do anything.
No investigating.
So now he'd gotten away with it. He talked to the police, but nothing happened to him. Um, So now he's seeing from police and other people of authority, you can hurt sex workers and not get in trouble.
Oh my god. Is this going to be one of them cases where we hate cops
Yeah.
for the time being
Yeah.
until they do something good in a better case and then it turns
No.
out better? Oh my god.
You will forever hate the Yorkshire.
Go to England. I hate you. You and your police.
It took them until I think 2020 to apologize for what they did, for how badly they handled this case. 2020 is when they apologized.
Took you long enough.
Because remember, this is happening in 1969.
Still, come on now.
So cops, like I read, yeah, this case is
Cops are like donuts. They keep going round.
yeah. Now, was that the intention of the police? Probably not. They didn't intend for him to get the idea that you can hurt sex workers and not have a
He
problem.
got it from somewhere.
So a few weeks after that whole interaction, a police officer was doing a beat walk in the Manningham area and saw Peter's car parked on the side of the road. And as he was walking up to see if Peter needed assistance, Peter sped away. That same officer saw his car again shortly after, but it was parked like the person was trying to keep it hidden, and it was alongside two row houses and it was empty, and the engine was off. So he went around looking and found Peter hiding in the bushes holding a hammer. And when the officer was like, "What are you doing with that hammer?" he told him his hubcap had come off and he was using the hammer to put the hubcap back on. The officer luckily didn't believe him and was like, "I think you're trying to break into this house."
Good for the cop. Somebody use their brain.
So he was arrested. But the officer did not check his pockets.
Why would you not check it? Usually, normally, let me tell you how to do your job. Okay. Normally, when you stop somebody or you're approaching somebody, one, you tell them to keep their hands out of their pockets. Two, you tell them to empty their pockets if they do have anything inside there. Three, you're supposed to, pat them down.
Well, if
That's
this officer
Officer 101 for you right there, folks.
if this officer had checked his pockets, he would have found that Peter had a giant knife in his pocket. So he was fined 25 pounds for a misdemeanor and let go.
What is wrong with you?
The report also did not include the hammer because the officer forgot he was carrying it.
Because he was using it to pound out his hubcap to put it back on.
There are so many
Stupid
so
idiots.
many. The police fumbled the bag with this.
Fumbled it?
He didn't just fumble, they like dropped the bag like numerous times.
Yes, there you go. That's the real answer. Crackhead.
So he didn't put that the dude had a hammer. He didn't put Peter had a hammer. Didn't mention the knife. Bye, Thomas.
There you go. All right, sir. Congratulations. Tell the kiddo we said congrats.
At his trial, Peter did admit that his intentions that day was to murder a sex worker, and he was stopped from doing so by that officer.
Blame the officer.
So luckily, this spooked him because there was a lull in his behavior from 1969 to 1970 to 1975. And I am being hopeful. I know the likelihood is that it was not the case. He was probably just
What did he say?
hiding it and learning from his mistakes.
Okay, sorry.
So during this time, he was still with Sonia, and they were spending a lot of time together. Now, in 1970, Sonia had to move to London to be with her sister, and that was 4 hours away from West Yorkshire. She continued her schooling to become a teacher, and she was living there to be closer to her school. And Peter would drive the 4 hours to be with her. Sadly, the stress got to her, and she had a breakdown, and she had this in 1972.
Wow.
She was admitted to the hospital and she was sick. She was having hallucinations and it was taking a really big toll on her. Peter was her primary caregiver through all of this. On August 10th, 1974, she was released after getting better and they got married that day in a Clayton Baptist church in Bradford. They honeymooned in Paris and moved into Sonia's parents' house. And since she was doing so much better mentally, she was able to go back to her schooling and she continued to want to be a teacher.
Good for her.
So her parents were also taking care of her, and that meant that Peter had a lot more free time than he had in a long time. So he went back to cruising the red light district and looking for sex workers. Now he also started to hang out with a neighbor called Ronald Baker. Baker admitted they would be out all night chasing women. So on July 5th, 1975, Peter went to Keeley's red light district, and after hours and hours of staring and just obsessing over sex workers, he saw 36-year-old Anne Rogolski. She was walking down the sidewalk in his direction, and she was on the way to her boyfriend's house at the time. He had seen her before, so he didn't know if she was a sex worker or uh, or not. And as she passed him, he asked her, and she asked her if he could buy her time, and she responded with "Not on your life," and she hurried away from him.
That's one way to do it. I don't think so, Freakoid.
When she got to her apartment, she was screaming to be let in and banging on the door because she was terrified. She got such a bad vibe from him. Without her hearing, because she's banging on the door to the complex, he snuck up behind her and hit her on the head with a ball peen hammer and hit her over the head twice.
Jeez.
She went down and she was unconscious. So he dragged her into an alley where he pulled a knife and he cut her stomach.
Hey.
And he was about to kill her when a neighbor came out of his apartment because he heard the commotion and Peter ran away.
Wow.
Um, da, 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 da. Anna survived.
Well, good.
She had 2 skull fractures and went into surgery for 12 hours where they had to put metal plates to piece her skull back together.
Wow.
She suffered cognitive trauma and she couldn't remember anything about the attack or Peter. So, as the police were analyzing the scene, they analyzed her clothes and they found semen on the clothes. Not in a way that showed SA, though. A slight trigger warning: Peter likes to masturbate on the dead or dying women.
That's, yeah.
Yeah.
You got issues, Peter.
So, heads up on that. So, like I said, not SA, but SA adjacent. Peter failed. Um, Peter failed. Now, what have we learned about Peter? The only work he's willing to put in.
Incompetent.
He's incompetent, but the only work he's willing to put in is to kill women. It's the only way he's putting in the work.
And he gets off on doing it.
Yeah. So on August 15th, he was doing his normal thing with Trevor Bird, and he got into an argument with a woman named Olive Smelt, who Peter accused of being a sex worker. So, like before, Peter saw Olive leaving a restaurant down the road, and Birdsall was driving, and he made Trevor pull him over, and he said, "There's someone I have to talk to." Birdsall said he pulled over and let him leave the car. Birdsall claimed he saw Peter grab something when he was leaving the car.
Hammer.
Now, Peter went around the other side of the block from Olive trying to cut her off. So he sees her coming down the alley and walks to her with his head down, and he strikes her on the head with a hammer as he passes her. She fell to the ground and he hit her a second time. He then pulled down her pants and pulled a knife and then cut her in the butt twice.
Really, dude?
So as he did this, a couple that was parked nearby heard the commotion and pointed their car's high beams at him, and he ran.
Stupid idiot.
So Olive had to undergo multiple life-saving surgeries,
Jeez.
but she did survive. This was another failure. Now, Trevor saw a report on the attack in the news the following day, and he was like, that couldn't have been Peter. Never mind that he had done this before, except with a rock.
And, and the fact that you're kind of an accomplice because you're the one driving him around.
He was quoted saying, "I found it hard to believe that he, as a friend of mine, it could be this man that the police were looking for."
Dude, he ain't no friend.
So, moving on to October 30th, 1975, Peter is now obsessed with killing a sex worker because he hasn't killed one. He's almost, but he hasn't. He's been failing because he's a failure in life.
Yes.
Um, so after some beers at a pub in Leeds, he went driving around and he saw a young woman hitchhiking on the side of the road at Chapelton. She was wearing a pink blouse, white pants, and a bolero jacket. She was 28-year-old Wilma McCann, and she had recently separated from her husband. She had 4 children from the ages of 5 to 9.
Mm.
So she moved into an apartment with them, and she had turned to sex work to support her family because she was the only one providing for her family at this point.
Shit. Kids.
Um, Unfortunately, she also struggled with alcoholism, and this would be the only thing that the press remembered of her and
Wow.
focused on. The press also piss you off in this case. So he stops and he offered her a ride, and she was grateful. And she said she had a few drinks and just wanted to go home. Again, this is from his point of view. He is a liar. He is awful. He is a monster. So now, once inside the car, Wilma gave directions to the apartment and he set off towards it. And as they drove, Wilma said, um, would you like to pay me some money? I'm not sure how to say it, but this is a business opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
So she indicated that there was a spot near Prince Philip's playing field where they could have reasonable privacy, a place sex workers would often take their clients. So they got out of the car and she sat on the grass and he got out a hammer from the toolbox of his car. And as she unbuttoned his pants, he raised the hammer and brought it hard on the top of her head. She slumped forward. Peter later said she emitted a horrible noise, like a moan, gurgling noise, and he continued to hit her over and over and over again with the hammer,
Oh.
penetrating the full thickness of her skull. He then took her shirt off, stabbed her in the neck 14 times in the abdomen and chest. Her body was discovered by a milkman named Alan Rutledge. He happened to have his 10-year-old brother with him that day.
Oh no. Therapy for the kid.
Paul saw Wilma, his brother's name Paul, and Paul saw Wilma. And when they realized what it was, they ran to the closest house of John Balls and called 999 because that's not 911 in England.
Right.
The West Yorkshire police arrived at the scene quickly. Detective Superintendent Dennis Hoban began interviewing the Balls and Rutledge brothers, and there wasn't a lot of info. So the murder took place very close to the Ball's bedroom, and Margaret Ball said she couldn't believe she didn't hear anything. We always sleep with the window open, and we had a big dog that barked when someone came close to the house. No one in the neighborhood reported hearing anything. So here's the thing, it was also close to her apartment. So, in an interview, her son said that he and his siblings saw the police cars outside and they left the apartment even though their mom had told them not to leave the apartment.
Mm-hmm.
They had left the apartment and were looking at all the police cars and looking at the commotion that was happening. And then they went back in their house. They had no idea it was their mom.
Oh wow.
Um this is part of the reason that the officers are so horrible. And when the police came to their house, they said something had happened to their mom.
Mm-hmm.
They went, "Oh, something happened to your mom." And then they took the children to a children's home and they loaded them in the back seat, said, "Pack your bags," loaded them in the car, drove them to a children's home. And that's when one of the oldest one
Mm.
realized that something had happened to their mom and he knew his mom was gone.
Oh wow.
No, empathy. No, nothing.
Wow.
The police thought it was a one-off murder. I am quoting an officer. "We thought it was a stranger murder. We knew it would take a long time to solve, so we just went on doing everything else."
Dumping kids in an orphanage. And not being honest with them.
We knew it was a stranger murder. We knew she was killed by someone she didn't know, and those are always the hardest to solve, so we just went about our business. We'll eventually figure it out. Um,
A 2-year-old can figure out a puzzle faster than you can.
a reporter called this a fish and chips murder, meaning it would be wrapping the fish and chips in a couple of days, essentially meaning it wasn't a big deal.
Always a big deal when it's people.
The police didn't connect the two prior attacks, even though they were done with hammers and were just a little bit less death filled. I will also say the idea at the time was kind of the same with the Bayou Strangler amongst the general public. And it was kind of the mindset of you get what you get, you're a sex worker, and they get killed. So who cares?
They are dirt.
Which, fuck you if you think that.
Mm-hmm.
So, Professor David Gee was head of forensic medicine at Leeds University, and he was called to the scene to analyze the body in the surrounding area. Fortunately, he believes she was unconscious when the knife wounds were inflicted.
Of course, she was unconscious. She was bashed in the hammer. Bashed in the head with a hammer.
Yeah. He also believed she was not raped, and tests confirmed this bit. There were traces of semen on her clothing, but essentially it was the perfect crime. So by the end of 1975, Peter and Sonia were still living with their parents. And he got a job at this point at Anderson International. He was taking truck driving lessons with Apex Driving School. So he was going to become a lorry driver, which means he could save money to try for a home of their own. Peter sold his lime green Capri car and he drove a white Ford Corsair. Now, 1976, so in the beginning of the 70s, there was a recession due to an oil crisis that hit in the US. So people were suffering, and crime rates at this point all over the world were high. People were just trying to survive. So
Yeah.
not only was it affecting the US, it was affecting England. When people get desperate, they get bitter and angry.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the Charlton sections of Leeds turned into a red light district, and a lot of activity was happening, specifically around a club named the Gaiety Club. It was a strip club, essentially. Now, on January 20th, 1976, two patrons and sex workers, Sydney and 42-year-old Emily Jackson, were at the Gaiety. They were a married couple with 3 kids who had fallen on hard times. In fact, they were actually dealing with a tragedy at the time. In the 1970s, their son Derek had fallen to death from the bedroom window.
Oh, jeez.
And when the recession hit, Sydney's roofing company was struggling and they fell into a depression and financial ruin. So they were close to declaring bankruptcy. And in Europe at that time, in some instances, you could serve jail time.
Oh, wow.
So the two had turned to sex work to survive and stay afloat. Her husband would go with her to make sure she was safe, and he would keep an eye on her.
Yeah, that was nice of him.
Um, they would go to Gaiety and meet potential clients, and eventually they found one. Emily would take them to the family van while Sydney waited inside. So they entered the Gaiety Club at 6 p.m., and Emily stepped outside. And after a while of working, she couldn't find any clients inside. So Peter happened to be trolling the area, stalking sex workers as he had always been doing. And he pulled up beside her and asked her how much, and they agreed on £5. Um, she got in his car and she told him there was an Arnold factory around the corner that was private and secluded. Peter said, I remember when she got in there, there was an overpowering scent of cheap perfume and sweat. This served all the more for me to hate this woman, even though I didn't know her.
Wow.
So they went, and when they were finished, Peter only intentionally turned the ignition light to flash the lights so it looked like the car didn't start. And he was like, oh no, and he got out, and Emily, being a sweet person, got out with him and lit her lighter to try and help him see. As she leaned forward, he reached over and hit her head with a ball peen hammer as hard as he could. She fell to the ground, and then he hit her, uh, and then hit her, and then hit her again harder. And then he dragged her body into the factory. So after he dragged her body into the factory, he stabbed her 50 to 56 times with a screwdriver, they believe.
Jeez. I remember her said it was her husband that went with her.
Her husband was inside, so she had left to go outside because she
Mm.
wasn't finding any patrons inside. And as he was driving by, he saw her. He goes, "Let's agree to this for £5." She's like, "Fine, we can go
Right.
here." So her husband was inside, and they had this thing that they'd be gone for a specific time and they would check in with each other regularly.
Okay, good.
So it was hours, and Sydney was getting worried because he hadn't seen Emily, and he was getting worried and he was getting really worried because she hadn't done her check-ins.
No. Right.
So Emily's body was found in the morning by a factory worker. He was walking into work and he saw what he thought was a mannequin leg sticking out of some trash. But when he got closer, he realized it was a real woman.
Mm.
She was on her back with her coat on. Her tights were torn and ripped, and they were pulled down to her ankles. And her dress had been pushed up to her chest. He also posed her, and he poses his victims almost all the time. She was laying in a large pool of blood, and he immediately called the police. Detective Chief Superintendent Hoban was on the scene shortly after. He was joined by David Gee. And thankfully, they realized this was connected to Wilma McCann. So people didn't see a whole lot, but they saw a couple of things. And they did read Peter to filth. So they didn't see Peter very well.
Yeah.
But this is how they described what they did see. They said they saw her getting into a Land Rover at 7 p.m., and the man was described as being 50. Peter was in his 20s at the time. They said he had a fattish build with mousy-colored ear-length headband, a full beard and bushy ginger blonde sideburns, and a distinctive scar from the knuckles to the wrist on his right hand.
Good Lord, how could they see that far?
Well, it wasn't a great description because it wasn't the right one. They were describing some random man.
Wow.
But the issue with this became the police took this description to heart.
Who knew?
Yeah. So the guy noticed that there were drag marks and he followed them until he found the site of the murder, and he saw shoe impression size 7 Wellington boots. He found similar boot prints on her thigh. Her autopsy revealed she had been stabbed in the back 30 times, 12 times in the abdomen, and 8 in her neck. And her heart was stabbed intentionally 2 times.
Oh, wow.
She had been hit twice on the head, one on the top and the other on the side. They found semen like the other case with no evidence of assault occurring. But they couldn't determine if it was consensual or not because they didn't know if she was working or not.
Apparently she was working.
I will say something that I found really heartbreaking in this interview. In an interview with her oldest son, he confessed the kids had no idea what she did for work. They kept that from them, which...
That's smart. I mean, you don't want your kids to think less of you, and if other people find out, they shame
And
you.
her husband stayed at the bar the whole entire time. So he was waiting for her to come back. He was worried, and he was out on the street looking for her. And so when the police found out who she was, they went to her house and they asked the oldest son to identify her.
Well, why wouldn't you ask the husband, not the child?
Because they couldn't find him. So they took him to the morgue, and they... Remember, she's been hit on the head with the hammer, so her head's a little fucked up. They pulled the sheet down to here and go, "Is this your mom?" To a 17-year-old boy.
No.
There was no need for that. They could have waited until the father was
They
back.
found the dad, yeah. And then not only that, on the dad, on her husband, and no disrespect to her husband, I'm glad that he went with her to make sure that she was safe, and he was okay with, probably was not okay with what she was doing, but he understood why she was doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, however many minutes they say that she would come back and check in, if she's not back within, I'm just going to say 5 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
okay? If she's not back within that 5 minute time frame, your ass needs to be out that door.
Mm-hmm. So within a month, DHS Hoban announced there was a connection between McMahon and the Jackson case. He put out a notice, and they had put the description of the man and the car out. The wrong description, remember? He also said this man has a pathological hatred for sex workers and good time girls, as they also called them. The case went cold. No new cases, and after 4 to 5 months, DCS became Detective Jim Hobson. and he took over the investigation. And Jim Hobson took over the investigation. So on May 9th, Peter's on the prowl again in Chapelton, in Spencer Place. And he pulled over and he turned his lights off and he kept his engine going.
His friend Bird ain't with him no more.
No. Now he's doing it on his own.
Okay.
He kept he turned his lights off and kept his engine going, and he just waited. So now he was in Leeds. These were happening in Leeds.
Okay.
Now he's in Chapelton, which is in a whole separate section.
So he's bouncing.
And he just waited. Soon, 20-year-old Marcella Claxton walked by, a little tipsy. She had been at a party earlier, and she was staggering. She was walking home to her 2 kids in her apartment at Round Gay Road, and he offered her a ride home. Peter declared as they got near Soldiers Field and parked he offered her £5 for sex on the grass on the field. She said, "No, I just want to go home." She did get out because she had to pee, and she was like, "I'm going to go pee in the bushes." So she took care of business, and she took a while because she hoped he would get tired of waiting and leave.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Because she was put off by him. When she finally came out of the bushes, she can see Peter wasn't in the car, and then he runs towards her, and she heard something. She heard a clunk, and it was like something fell, and she said, "I hope it wasn't a knife," because of the attacks in the news.
Yeah.
She didn't know that they had been killed by a hammer. She knew of the knife wounds.
Not the hammer.
Yeah.
Wow.
She heard a clunk, and it was like something fell. She said, "I hope this wasn't a knife because the attacks on the news." He told her it was his wallet. He then grabbed her, raised his arm, and hit her in the head with a ball-peen hammer. He hit her possibly 8 times with that hammer.
Jeez.
She fell to the ground and wasn't unconscious or dead yet, but she pretended to be.
Good for her.
He stood over her, did what he does, and put a 5-pound note in her hand and left.
Wow.
Marcella, being the amazing boss bitch, crawled to a phone booth.
Dang.
Called an ambulance for herself. While in the phone booth, she was hiding on the floor while he drove by several times before leaving.
Wow.
Now, she was 4 months pregnant at the time, and she lost the baby.
Oh.
She also suffered severe skull and brain trauma. She had extensive brain surgery and 52 stitches on her head.
Damn.
She lived and managed to avoid severe brain damage. She remembered everything from that night. She was also able to give a description of Peter. She said he was young with a crinkly back beard, and she said he spoke in a Yorkshire accent. The police, back on their BS, didn't connect him to the other 2 murders. No connection was made until years later when he confessed to the attack of Marcella, and apparently when they posted his photo and they were like, "This is the Ripper," she was like, "That's him." And she knew without a doubt it was him.
Yeah.
So when they had finally gone, "We caught the Yorkshire Ripper," she was like, "That's the dude."
I was like, hello.
So instead of looking and thinking like, "Oh, she was hit over the head with a hammer," it's all so similar. I think it might be a second guy who's hitting the women over the head with a hammer.
Or it's just downright stupidity of people that
also, they had not connected the other 2 attacks. The ones that didn't remember anything that happened didn't connect them either.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
This would be a good time. I wish we had, excuse me, a computer and like the proper equipment to where right when she says that's the dude, and I can just chime in there with the thing from Back to the Future. Hello, McFly. Because that would be the perfect moment to just chime that in right there.
I've been mentioning it all time. We've seen a lot of issues with the police. We're going to see even more issues with the police. The police did apologize, and not just the officers, but the whole police department for mishandling the case. But I'm not going to tell you, it gets worse from here, and it's not just from the police department, also the press are pretty awful.
What? I think that was the delayed nipple on the dog. Justin just poked her in the one on her stomach on one of the nipples, and she didn't move. It was delayed.
Because last time he poked her, she went like this immediately.
Which one did you push? Okay.
He just poked her stomach,
And
and
she's
she
all
just
like,
slowly looked up, like, why?
it was delayed.
So as mentioned earlier, police started looking for a Land Rover and a man with a red beard, which is wrong. So he does not have a red beard. He doesn't have a Land Rover.
Didn't have a
He
beer
has
either.
a Ford Corsair. No, he's drunk all the time. The man's an alcoholic.
Wow.
As previously mentioned, the police had been pretty shitty to the victim's family. And that was because these victims were not seen as innocent because they were sex workers. And I will say there is a reason that it is important because of the victims I am going to mention. So it's nice at least they're apologizing and taking accountability.
Yeah, a little too late, but okay.
Yeah. So in 1977, 28-year-old Irene Richardson was a single mother of 2, and she had been going through a really rough time. By
Leroy
February,
was born that year.
huh?
Leroy was born that year.
By February of 1977, her kids had been temporarily put in foster care, and she had turned to sex work to make ends meet. She was staying in a rooming house in a bad part of Chapelton. Again, he's moving to a different part of town. Yeah, she's done with it. Hermione is definitely done with, because Justin thought she was dead because she was out cold. She's like, is she dead?
She's like Marie. If Marie is out cold, you could, like, I sneeze. Okay, if you sneeze, she does not move. She does not budge. Well, I don't know why I keep looking at the freaking TV when I'm talking to you all, and I'm looking over here. But Marie's that way.
So she was staying in a rooming house in a bad part of Chapelton. So on February 5th, she left the rooming house a little before midnight and told her landlady she was going to the Tiffany Club in Leeds. When Irene was out, so was Peter, and he was on the hunt. He noticed Irene and immediately asked, "Are you working tonight?"
No, I'm just walking around like a pretty man.
She agreed to
You're
get
gonna
in the
fall
car.
off. Yeah. Okay, there you go.
She agreed to get in the car, and they began looking for a place with a little bit of privacy. Peter's like, "I know the perfect place," and he drove her to Roundhay Park. Irene got out of the car and told him she had to go to the bathroom. You're noticing a trend with this story is starting to sound very similar to each other.
Mhm.
That's because Peter's an unreliable narrator and a little bitch. I apologize.
No, she doesn't.
So she ended up going behind a bush. When she was peeing, with her back turned towards him, he snuck up behind her and hit her in the head with a ball peen hammer on the top of the head. On the morning of February 6, 1977, 47-year-old John Bolton was doing his morning jog, and he stumbled across her body. He saw a body laying in the grass, and he thought that she needed help. So he ran up to her and said, "Can I help you, miss?" He moved her hair to the side because she was laying face down or facing sideways. So she was it was a weird positioning. And when he moved her hair,
Yeah.
he saw there was blood all over her face and neck, and her eyes were glazed and fixed. He called the police, and Detective Jim Hobson and David Gee arrived, and it was noted she received a skull fracture by 3 blows to the head by hammer. One of the wounds was so bad that the skull had actually broken and driven into her brain.
Ooh.
Hobson immediately connected the scene to the others. She was laying face down, and when they moved her head, they also saw her throat had been slit and she had been stabbed in the side as well. Her skirt had been pulled over her abdomen, and she was stabbed 3 more times in the stomach, but the stab wounds were more like slashes. He had ripped her stomach open so much, her intestines were coming out.
Ew.
Her coat was draped over her legs, and under it he placed her brown boots across her thighs. Like I previously said, he poses them, always with their feet facing the road, and he likes to leave them exposed. The scene showed tire marks on the body leading away from it. They were able to determine it was a mid-sized sedan or smaller car, and they realized they weren't looking for a Land Rover.
No shit, Sherlock.
I mean, why don't you talk to the victim who survived?
Wow, what gave you that much clue? I could tell you keep digging Watson, but that might take you even longer.
They brought the imprint to the car manufacturer and ended up having a list of 26 possible vehicles. That brand matches registered to 100,000 cars in West Yorkshire. So there's 100,000 cars that their tire imprints match these imprints.
Oh, don't worry, it won't take any time. They'll figure it out.
So in July, they abandoned that task with 20,000 cars left unchecked.
Oh my god.
So they did 80,000 cars. They checked 80,000 cars. And 20,000 of those cars they didn't check. Do you know who was on that list of 20,000 that hadn't been checked?
I don't. Let me guess. Could it be the Yorkshire Ripper?
Yeah, Peter.
What?
Peter, he was on that 20,000.
No.
Yeah. An autopsy was conducted and they found that
Sarcasm at its
her time of death was close to midnight. She had been killed by one of the blows to her head. There was no drugs or alcohol in her system. And Hobson was like, listen, guys, I think we have a serial killer. Right? He's like, I think we got one. And no one agreed. And they were like, that's crazy. And they didn't make a public statement about it.
What's crazy is how stupid you all are.
He continued his reign of terror with confidence because no one was stopping him.
You don't know it's me. Sorry.
By April 1977, sex
This is
workers...
a man who's so competent and so fucking smart that he got stupid people. He can't fucking figure it out. And these men and women went to learn how to figure this shit out. But I told you, a 2-year-old could do a puzzle better than you could.
Mm-hmm.
They can figure that out. They can put a puzzle together faster than you can.
By April 1977, sex workers in the area were on edge.
I mean, if you weren't on edge before, come on.
This is when the press started to call him the Ripper because of how reminiscent he was of Jack the Ripper. And they started to play with this idea that he was Jack the Ripper reincarnated.
Oh, God.
To quote,
I kind of can't wait till we get to Jack the Ripper because I'm going to compare. Because I tell you right now, this dude is nothing like
Jack the Ripper.
And I don't know anything about Jack the Ripper. I'll tell you that much. I know nothing except for that little show I was watching on True Crimes. Was it True Crimes? What did I tell you? Was it like the travel history or something like that? Some stupid channel, okay? That they were talking about Jack the Ripper. I know nothing of this man, and I have a book that somebody wrote on Jack the Ripper, or at least a story about Jack the Ripper. I know nothing. I know the Blackout Ripper, which I think he's the one that we don't really care to talk about.
Yeah, he's the one who used the potato peeler.
Yeah, that one. We don't. You know what's still funny? Still cannot find my potato peeler. By the way, what else went missing? Speaking of household items, what else went missing?
I don't remember what else went missing.
Didn't I think? Oh, that's what it was. But we found it. It was my measuring cup. I'm like, where'd the fuck my measuring cup go now? I was like, God, what the heck, man? Is the Blackout Ripper trying to get to our items?
So the ghost of him doesn't appreciate us talking shit.
No, they don't. And I'm gonna tell you right now, this dude is nothing compared to that dude.
Well, we're gonna end We're gonna end on a murder, and the reason we're ending on this particular murder is so you have a week to heal. To quote a paper, they wrote, "Cut them up, pull their insides out, and cut their tits off." Why the paper wrote that, I don't know.
I'm not laughing. Oh my God. Our slogan, once again, we laugh at the dark things and it helps.
What? If he was reincarnated, then Jack would have been caught back. Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
So,
wow.
They originally, and I think the reason they did that is because one time one of the victims, when he stabbed them in the chest repeatedly, he stabbed him so much that the boob was almost completely severed because he stabbed him so many times.
I didn't need it no more.
So they
Sorry, that was wrong to say.
So they originally called him the Ripper of Leeds because he had only been killing in Leeds at the time, but that does change.
Right.
The police, on the other hand, were not connecting the dots.
Apparently.
But the investigators did hand out papers with description of the killer. The wrong description,
I was gonna say, wait, was it the right description this time, or was it still wrong?
but at this point, their hearts are in the right place.
Okay. What place might that be?
Um,
Please tell us. Please tell us what you're saying.
that's Jack, not this dude. Exactly.
Oh, I missed the first thing that she said. It went away too fast.
The wrong description, but like their hearts were in the right place because like they're like, we're gonna hand out papers of what he looks like to sex workers. Great idea. Smart move.
Should have done that a long
Should
time
have
ago.
done this after the second victim.
There you go.
Um,
Cheese and crackers.
so they were even handing out phone numbers for people to call with more information. So back to Peter's normal life. Sonia, Peter's wife, was getting her diploma and she started doing her own thing.
Did he ever see her? Did he ever like, hey honey, how's it going? Guess what? I've been killing sex workers for you.
Oh no, he kills sex workers and his wife did not know until he was arrested. Because he has the perfect job for it. He's a nighttime driver. So he could just say I'm going in for a shift.
He has a double life.
Yeah. So Sonia's Peter's wife was getting her diploma and she was starting to do her own thing. She had finally become a teacher in summer and they had saved a lot of money to move into their own place.
Yay.
So everything seemed on the up and up. Peter's looking for a home and he's satisfying the monster in him. And he was getting everything he wanted. He was killing women and living the life. So Patricia, also known as Tina Atkinson, was living in an apartment in Oak Avenue in Bradford. Her husband had left and taken their 3 kids some time before. She had turned to sex work to make ends meet. She thought she was safe because even though she was a sex worker, she took her clients back to her own apartment and didn't do her work on the streets. So her thought process was, he'd never killed anyone indoors. I'll be safe.
Never.
She also had still stopped doing sex work because she was still so worried and anxious about it.
Yeah.
Now, in April of 1977, she was running short on funds and she needed to make money. Because she had stopped working, her savings had run out. So on April 23rd, she went down to the Carlisle to see if she could find a client. Around 10:15 p.m., the bartender said they remembered telling her goodnight, and then they watched her stagger to the door. Others who had seen her before claimed to see her walking down Church Street before 11 p.m. They said she was pretty drunk. So Peter must have seen her walking to Church Street, and he sees her standing on the corner of St. Paul's Road, and according to Peter, he saw she was drunk. And he claimed she was screaming obscene things and banging on the roof of the car, which doesn't match other accounts of her. That's not who she was.
People know.
So he drives up to her and asks if she wants a ride, and she accepts. And they start driving in the Ford Corsair. She offered her services to him, and they made a deal, and they went back to Tina's apartment. When they got there, Tina went to the windows and closed the curtains, and Peter hung up his coat. And as he did that, he slipped the ball-peen hammer into it from his pocket. Tina sat on her bed and removed her jacket, and as she turned her back to Peter, he took the opportunity. He took the hammer and hit her on the back of the head. She fell to the floor, and he hit her in the head and face as hard as he could with a hammer a second time, then a third, then a fourth. He picked her up off of the floor and placed her in the bed heads up. Oh, well, no, I forgot the comma. Heads up, it's going to get graphic. He pulled her pants down and underwear down, and it's unknown why, but he did try to pull them up before he left. Yeah.
That's weird.
And he posed her. He pulled her bra up to expose her chest, and then he stabbed her 6 times in the stomach and covered her body with blankets and then left the apartment.
Oh, wow.
The next day, Tina's friend Robert had decided to visit her around 6 p.m. He knocked on the door and no answer, and he's like, that's weird. She's always home on Sunday. So he kept knocking, and he finally went to try the door, and it opened really easily. And he was like,
That's even weirder because
"That's
she never
weird."
leaves it unlocked.
Exactly. Um, and he went inside and he started calling her name and was met with silence. He began walking to her bedroom and he saw Tina alone on the bed and a massive pool of blood on the floor. Most of her body was covered in blankets, and one side of her face was visible and bloody. Robert ran to the apartment manager and shouted for him to call the police. DCS DeMille from the Western Crime Area was called to lead the investigation, and David Gee acted as a pathologist. When he arrived, Gee examined her on the bed and was able to say she sustained 4 wounds to the head, and her face was almost unrecognizable. He noted the weirdness of the underwear. He also found scraps and scratches all over her body, and he theorized they were unsuccessful attempts to stab the body because she was moving. It also may have been because he was determined to stab her with a chisel, and those aren't sharp enough to pierce skin.
Hmm.
So Peter tried to stab her with a chisel, and chisels can't.
Yeah.
It's too long of a. There's a reason knives are pointed.
Yeah.
Um, the final cause of death was one of the wounds to the head. They were able to determine she wasn't moving because she was already dead. The chisel was just not sharp enough and not meant to cut up human flesh.
Mm.
So they were searching the apartments. They found marks that where he would walk and then walk back to the bed as he was looking. So he would literally, it's like he would,
Pace.
no,
Kind of pacing.
it's like he would pose the body here
Uh-huh.
and walk to that other side of the room,
To look
look
at it.
how it was posed,
Okay.
walk back and fix it.
He was kind of getting like, almost like you're moving furniture around. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, do I like it right here? No, I
Yeah.
don't like her laying like that.
Hmm.
Wow. So to him, they're like art.
Hmm.
It's art that he is putting out there, and it's his artwork. You a sick man.
They also found a size 7 Wellington boot again.
Oh, but a lot of people could have that size.
Hmm. But those boots were so common, they didn't think anything of it.
Dang, how did I guess that?
There was no DNA or fingerprints at the scene. Um, but police tried to do actual police
Siemens
work.
DNA.
Yeah,
Sorry.
you're right. But what do we know? We're just two women.
Yep.
They actually, police actually decided to do a little bit of police work.
What?
Tina used cabs to travel, and they interviewed 1,200
Oh.
cab drivers and found nothing.
Oh my god. Wow.
And so here's the messed up part. Remember how I said Jim Hobson's was over the case in Leeds?
Yeah.
Instead of them working together, there's now a separate person leading a separate investigation. His name was DeMille, but DeMille was a good police officer. He
I'll
realized
be the judge of that.
so DeMille was an OG, and he realized he was connected to the victims in Leeds, and he made a statement saying she was killed by that same killer.
All right.
And it was at this time people are dropping tips. But that's also when Barbara Miller came forward and she said she had been attacked but did not report it. She was attacked in March 1975 in Leeds. She said she was picked up by a 35 to 40-year-old man with a scarred hand driving a Land Rover, and he had brutally and violently attacked her. DeMille thought of that description from the Jackson murder, again, the wrong description, and he put a notice on May 9th saying Tina's murder was connected to the others. And they put the description out, and Peter was not a suspect at the time. So basically, somebody came forward, said they were attacked by a man who had the wrong description, did not match Peter's description.
Wow.
And then he was like, you know what? Tina and her attack were done by the same man. Because he's working on the things he's got.
Yeah.
Because remember, they think Marcella's attack was by another person. And they're not listening to who her description of the killer was.
Well, that's right, because she's just a sex worker.
Yeah.
What she says doesn't matter.
Yeah. Now, in 1977, Sonia's Peter's wife had learned her teaching certificate and earned her teaching certificate. Wait, let me go back. Let me make sure. So yeah, Barbara Miller came forward, said she was attacked but did not report it. She was attacked in March 1975 in Leeds, and she was picked up by the wrong description of the murderer. So DeMille heard the description from the Jackson murder, the wrong description, and he put a notice out on May 9th saying Tina's murder was connected to the others, and they put the wrong description out, and Peter was not a suspect at the time. So basically, they're putting the wrong description out. Peter's not a suspect at all. He's been killing since 75, or attempting to kill since 75.
Mm-hmm.
It's 77.
Wow.
2 years. And he's not going to get caught anytime soon, heads up. But DeMille was
Turn in your
trying.
badges.
DeMille was trying.
Okay.
He's
Okay, we'll forgive him. But the rest of you, turn in your badges. Just let the man do the job.
Now, in 1977, Sonia's Peter's wife had earned her teaching certificate, and she was teaching part-time. On Saturday, June 26, 1977, Sonia and Peter viewed a house in Garden Line in the Heaton neighborhood of Bradford. Sonia was in love with that house. So the day that Peter's wife was finding her dream home was happening the same day
He wanted to go on a killing spree.
as one of his most talked about crimes, and it is an awful crime. It should have never happened.
None of these should have ever happened.
None of these should have ever happened. But it was because of who she was that he finally gained popularity in the press, and he wasn't just he's killing sex workers. Okay. It became oh my God, he could kill any one of us. He could kill a sex worker. He could kill a random woman on the street.
Mm-hmm. Took you that long to figure it out?
So by 1977, he killed 4 women, and they had just connected them. And they knew it was a stranger killing, and well, stranger killings are the hardest to solve, I will be honest.
You don't have much to go on.
They couldn't really, we can't really do anything, so we're just going to wait. So people were scared and on edge, mostly sex workers, though. People were starting to wonder what the cops were doing because there was no leads or
Not
anything.
their job.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that much.
Do you know that, I think I mentioned it later, they had multiple separate office buildings where they had hundreds of employees, and they had files and files and files. So basically, somebody would call the tip line and be like, I think my husband is the Yorkshire Ripper. And then they would add his name to a list and put it in the files. You know, one building almost completely collapsed because of how many files they had?
Jeez, all the wives were all turning in their husbands.
Wives, boyfriends, people who had been wronged by their significant others, all kinds of people.
That's one way to get rid of somebody.
It is insane. And they didn't communicate.
Right.
4 separate office buildings did not communicate, did not go, you know what, Office A, somebody reported this Jack Smith. Office B, you know what, somebody also reported Jack Smith. You know what, let's look at Jack Smith. Now 2 separate people have reported him. No, they just, ooh, Jack Smith, let's add him to the Jack Smith file. It was so disorganized.
Just add Jack Sparrow. Add him to the list.
It was awful. His
You're okay. You didn't
appear. He did not appear.
You're okay. What do you want me to do? Oh.
So his 5th murder.
As y'all know, Justin does not like to be on camera.
I'm also trying to he does not also like murder stuff. So especially this late in the day.
So we try to do this when he's in the office and the door shut.
His 5th murder was 16-year-old Jane McDonald, who lived with her parents on Scott Hall Avenue in Leeds. She was smart.
So he went back to Leeds?
Yeah.
Where he started?
Yeah. He hops back and forth all over England at this
Buddy, if
point.
you're gonna do it, just keep moving.
Yeah, she was smart and happy, and
Excuse me.
she
Sorry.
was well loved. She worked hard and she had a lot of friends, and she was also close with her parents, mostly her dad. She had a job at a shoe department, and her father said she was bursting with optimism and the sheer joy of life.
Good for her.
On Saturday, June 26, 1977, Sonia and Peter had found their dream home, and Jane went dancing with some friends. She was wearing a blue and white gingham shirt skirt set, and left the house with a kiss to her dad, as she always did. And she headed to the Hofbrauhaus, a German beer hall. There were drinks and dancing, and they had fun until about 10:30 p.m. And she and a friend named Mark Jones decided to get fish and chips at a nearby restaurant. They went and had a nice time, and they sat and chatted, and she realized she missed the last bus home. So around midnight, she and Mark started to walk home, and Mark was like, "We get to my place, my sister can drive you." But when they got to Mark's home, Mark's sister wasn't there. So they kind of hung out in the fields, talking for like 45 minutes, and then she decided to walk back home. So they had plans to meet up next Wednesday, and they parted ways. During that evening, Peter had gone looking after dropping Sonia off at work, and then going drinking in Bradford with his neighbor Ronald Barker and his brother, hopping from pub to pub until about 1 a.m. He dropped the brothers off and went back for a stroll. And he was looking for a victim. It was a little before 2 a.m. that Peter saw Jan walking. He claims he just watched her in his car, and he parked in a hotel parking garage. He got his hammer and a kitchen knife, and he followed her on foot. So, a little thing about this neighborhood was that the street lights went out at 11:30 p.m. in this part of town. So it was pitch black.
Oh, that's not good.
Yeah. And as he was creeping up behind her, they passed the children's playground. And it was there that he hit her on the back of the head with a hammer. She fell to the ground, and he continued to hit her at least two more times. Then he pulled up her clothes, stabbed her over and over and over again in the chest. According to the pathologist, he later determined she was still alive when Peter left, thinking she was dead.
Oh, wow.
It was 9:45 the next morning that two kids on their way to the playground between Reginald Street and Reginald Terrace found Jane laying face down by the playground wall. Her coat was pulled up to her shoulders, and her skirt was pulled up. Her black stockings were torn, and there was blood leading to the entrance of the park where he initially attacked her. A closer look revealed the head wounds, a stab wound to her chest, and stab wounds to her chest. The murder was seen as different because she was younger and
Mhm.
not a sex worker. He claimed he thought she was because it was in an area where sex workers traveled. He said he realized what he was doing, but by then he couldn't stop.
Mhm.
He did his spiel of, "I was on a mission to kill sex workers." And Jane's family suffered with her loss. Her father actually developed something that is called nervous asthma, and he was deemed no longer able to work.
Oh, that sucks.
People, however, say he lost the will to live, and 28 months after Jane was murdered, Wilfred MacDonald and his wife were killed by broken hearts.
Oh, well, it's what, their only child?
Hmm.
So I
And they
mean,
loved her.
very God. And that is a possible thing, so everybody
Yeah,
has a heads up. People can
die of a broken heart.
die of a broken heart. Who was it? Carrie Fisher. Not to change the subject. When Carrie Fisher passed, I think it was later, not even a day or so later than her mom passed, because her mom died of a broken heart as well, because Carrie, I think, was her
Hmm.
only child. I could be wrong, but it's an actual thing. That's something that I hope I never go through, because I mean, to lose somebody, especially if the dad and daughter are so close. Like I'm pretty close with my dad, you know. Um, Close to my mom, but I don't think as close as like her and my brother are, in a sense. Um, but that would be horrible. I mean, the poor guy
Yeah.
sends her off to go have fun with friends.
Well, here's the part that gets upsetting. So, after her death, the investigation ramped up by the police because they started to take it seriously now.
Oh, now you take it serious.
The news was reporting that an innocent was killed. Never mind that the other women were also innocent,
And had children.
many of them turning to sex work because they had nowhere else to turn.
Yep.
This idea may have been made worse by the police writing a statement to the news saying, so this is something the police actually wrote to the killer. They didn't know who the killer was, but they wrote this in the news. How do you feel knowing you killed an innocent? How do you feel knowing you killed a regular woman and not a sex worker?
I mean, sex workers are just.
Sex workers are women too.
Yeah.
They're
It's like
regular people too.
they. Nothing that anybody does is innocent anymore. If you think about it,
So,
and if like Abigail just said, if you don't know what else to do to go make money and you have no other experiences, and that's the only experience you have, what are you supposed to do?
exactly. If that's the only experience you have,
And that's the only thing you know to go
exactly.
to. You can't. Okay, I've had somebody ask me, and this is kind of like strippers are not really sex workers, but they kind of get looked at that way.
They're classified as a branch of sex work
Yeah.
because necessarily they're not committing sexual
No,
acts, but
but if somebody had asked me if that was the last job on earth, would I do it? Well, I mean, if it's the only job that I could get, and you have to work in a place like that, or if you have to work in a brothel, would you do that job? If that was the only job, and I'm not just asking because somebody had asked me that. If that was the last job that you could go for because you couldn't get a job anywhere else, would you do that job? You know it was going to help pay the bills, and make sure that you're taken care of and have everything you need. But maybe there's going to be that light at the end of the tunnel. You get where you need to be, but then you go looking for a different job. Would you take that
yeah.
other job or would you stay where you're at? Because I have a feeling some of these women, even in this case, didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
Just like the other cases that we've had,
Yeah.
blackout Ripper and
Many of them, and these are during times of financial struggle. There are many at this point. A whole entire street almost becomes a red light district because of how many people
yeah.
were doing what they
So
had
be
to
careful when
survive.
putting red light bulbs out. You might get accused of being on red light. I've actually heard of that because I cracked a joke about being Christmassy because I
Mhm.
love Christmas, right? Telling your Christmas book about putting a red light bulb out on our porch.
Yeah, no.
And just as Jack goes, he goes, "What are we, the red light district?" I
Well,
didn't know what that was, to be honest with you, because I never
mhm.
pay attention to that stuff. And then when I hear it, it's like, okay, we'll just do the green light.
So people are looking at this case all over the world because an innocent was murdered, and they're now starting to criticize the police because there are no leads, no suspects, no nothing.
But it takes this one person.
Yeah, I look at it like Walmart or fast food is for, yeah, that's,
Yeah.
and I hate to say it, what is it? The saying is prostitution
Mm-hmm.
is the oldest career in
Because
the book.
if you think about it, you're not wrong. Because why? Hello, brothels. You
Yeah.
have brothels back in the day. No joke. Even the TV show I'm watching, Outlander, which is in the 1700s, folks,
Hmm.
1700s, and that's what the timeline is. They had brothels.
I mean, if you even think about it,
What she saying? Angel, stop making me put my glasses on enough.
there are so many people that exactly.
There's people that last resort becomes all they can do. And you're correct. Do you know I have actually ran into, I'm not going to say it like that. A lot of sex workers, strippers, however they are labeled, that's the only job, yes, that they can get, but they have that job to pay for college
Hmm.
and to go to school. And you know what? Good for them because they're figuring out a way to deal with things on their own, without either the help of family. or their family's like, well, we're not going to help you if that's the kind of job you're going to do.
Yeah,
They'll figure it out. They ain't dumb.
one of the girls I graduated in my religious studies class, she was a stripper, and not only was she a stripper, she also taught pole dancing classes. Um, and
Which is
she was like, it's not a sexual class, it's just a
it's
regular class.
exercise that literally helps build
Yeah, women
your
didn't have many
core
options.
and your legs.
Exactly. Women didn't have many options. But so now back to this case. So now people are criticizing the police because
They're not doing their
an
job.
innocent was killed. So essentially, the murder of Jane showed that any woman could be affected and not just sex workers. And now every woman was scared because they too could be a victim. If they were out at the wrong hour, this man could go and say, "Oh, I think you're a sex worker," and kill you.
Uh-huh.
And so it became a real thing and not something that was happening to a group outside of themselves. So West Yorkshire police are ramping up the investigation finally, and they're talking to everyone, neighbors, shop owners, and now finally they're talking to the sex workers.
Oh, they matter now?
Yeah,
They matter to you now?
they collected 3,500 statements, and the investigation was handed over to someone new. This is the third time the case has been handed off to someone. Chief Constable Ronald Gregory.
Constable. Cool name.
He was assigned by Assistant Constable George Oldfield, and Oldfield is exactly like his name sounds.
Old. I was about to ask that too.
Yeah. He was mouthy and abrasive, and he was a chain smoker. He always had scotch in his hand. He was a former veteran on Normandy Beach.
Way to go, Brett. You like to drink.
Yeah. He also lost his daughter to leukemia,
Mm.
so he should have been able to, better relate.
Not with alcohol in your system.
Yeah.
You can't really.
Just kidding. I lied. He treated his family just as terrible now.
God. You would, if you would think about it, the whole thing of all of this happening, you would think with the murders going on, and maybe I'm just the only one that would think this, you would put a curfew on all women.
Oh, we'll get to that.
Damn.
That
Jumping ahead.
That does happen, I think, in like the year before he eventually is caught.
Oh my
And
God.
he kills for like 8 years. So like he's the year before, but that is exactly during the beginning of the second rise of the feminist rising.
Yeah.
So women are like, we're not the ones doing the killing. Why don't you put a curfew on men?
Ooh. Snap.
We're the ones getting killed. Why don't you put a curfew on men because they're the obvious threat?
Good point.
So they have like a whole entire
Touche.
march on the streets and everything.
Touche. Wow.
Which is, I was like, damn. So after Jane's horrible death, 304 officers were placed on the investigation. Yeah. The first mistake was when Oldfield made a statement on Jane's death, but he refused to connect Jane to the other victims.
How could you not? I mean, come on.
He was like, no, that's a separate murder.
No, it's not.
These 4 women were killed by somebody else.
No, they weren't.
Different killer.
Nope. You and me would be going around, fat boy.
Because she was an innocent and not a sex worker, she couldn't have been killed by the same man.
Oh yes, because heaven forbid that's not going to happen.
They asked for the press asked for a profile, and the profile read as looking for an aggressive madman, sulking in the shadows, waving a hammer. That's not a good profile. That's a bad profile. That's a really shitty profile.
You got one thing right. Shadow, or a couple of things right. Shadow and hammer. That's all.
In actuality, he was married and gainfully employed, working nights. He came off as an everyday guy. He was not a madman. So let's summarize how extremely fucked up this investigation got. The profile is wrong. The description is wrong. The car, the Land Rover, that they said was wrong. They refused to accept Jane as a victim. They are not seeing the prior attacks where women lived as potential also other victims.
Come on.
The whole case was wrong. It was bad from the get-go.
Jeez. And they transferred this to 3 different people. Throw that in there.
The worst part was they had an accurate description of him, but they did not push that description of him.
And the only one that seemed like he gave a crap was that one cop
Yeah.
that we're forgiving, but not the rest of you.
Because it wasn't his district. Yorkshire police fucked this up so royally.
Well, they could have asked for his input. They could have asked, "Hey,
They
dude,
could,
what you
you
got?"
know what they could have done? They could have done
Done
a
their job.
collaborative thing where they had different people from different things working together. But no,
The different
they had to
counties.
do different. So the manhunt was massive now. There were 175,000 people being interviewed, 100,000 vehicles being checked, and no leads were found. Probably because they were all checking for Land Rovers. Now, in July 1977, Sonia and Peter bought their home together. And on July 9th, he went out with Ronald Barker and his brother to celebrate. They headed to the red light district and hung out till 1 a.m. And at this point, Peter dropped them off in Clayton and he went back on the hunt. As he drove to Chapelton, he saw a woman in an evening dress standing outside Bali High around 2 a.m. The woman was Maureen Long. She was 42 years old, a mother of 3, and she had been partying at Tiffany's with her ex-husband Ronnie. She then went to the Bali High discotheque and danced there and was seen dancing with multiple men. She was tipsy, pretty drunk, and she was waiting for the cab. But Peter pulled up and asked, "How far are you going?" And she went, "Why the hell not?" and got in his car. She was like, "You know what? I'm drunk. Fuck it." Um, she told him to take her to her ex-husband Ronnie's apartment, and she was giving him directions on the way. And they started talking, and Peter said Maureen asked if he fancied her. Again, she was drunk. And they agreed to go to a private spot just off the bowling back lane. And when they got there, Maureen said she needed to pee, so she headed
What
behind
is
a
it with you
bush.
women and peeing? Stop drinking so much.
See what I mean?
Stop drinking so much.
This is coming from his perspective, though.
Like, stop.
So it's he's telling this idea that they keep going, having to go pee.
Sorry for us having bladders.
And then so she went behind a bush to pee. Peter walked up behind her and hit her on the head with the hammer. She fell to the ground and he dragged her to a waste disposal site where he hit her again on the head with a hammer, pulled down her dress, stabbed her 5 times in the abdomen, and after that, he wasn't done. He made incisions from groin to sternum. He flipped her over, stabbed her 4 times in the back. He was sure she was dead, and so he dragged her body to an even darker part of the waste disposal area and covered her in an old mattress. As he walked away, he almost fell, but he caught himself and left a bloody partial palm print on the porcelain.
Ooh, you messed up.
A dog started barking at him, and so he left without cleaning it up. So the dog was barking like crazy at 3:30 in the morning, and the watchman saw a white car speeding away, but he didn't investigate any further.
Of course he didn't.
He gave a description of the car, but he described it as a Ford Cortina, not a Ford Corsair.
I mean, they're getting closer.
It wasn't until the next day.
They got the Ford right.
The next morning, 2 women heard soft cries of what they thought was a baby, and they followed the sound and they found Maureen alive.
What?
She was under the mattress crying for help. Ambulance and investigators arrived, took her to the hospital, where they saved her life. Now, I don't know why they're no longer together, but her ex was out for blood. She had head injuries, 3 broken ribs, and horrific stab wounds. George Oldfield ran to the hospital after her surgery to interview her because he wanted to know everything, but she couldn't remember anything from that evening. She only remembered getting a ride from a man 35 years in age who had shoulder-length hair. So Oldfield put out a special message to look for a Ford white Cortina, and he went from the Leeds Ripper to the Yorkshire Ripper. On September 26, Peter and Sonia had officially moved into their home. Sonia was happy and she was proud. They also, when Peter started to lose his, this is also when Peter started to lose his idea of invincibility. Because even though they had the wrong car, he was like, it's too close. The car is going to be an issue. So he sold it to Ronald Barker and bought a red Corsair. So on October 1st, he took the car, went to Manchester, 2 hours away from his home, and went to the red light district at 9:30 p.m. And there he spotted 20-year-old Jean Jordan. He asked if she was doing business. She said yes, and he took her to a nearby empty lot, to a cemetery. Jean had run away from home at 16 and met her partner Alan Roll when she was in Manchester. They fell for each other immediately and moved into Alan's apartment in Linkbeg Crescent. They never officially got married, but they were living like husband and wife with 2 small kids. By 1977, there was a lot of financial instability in the world, and she didn't tell Alan, but she had turned to sex work to make money for the family.
Mm.
As she walked to the grass, Peter struck her in the head 13 times. When she fell, he began stabbing her over and over and over before he was scared off by headlights. As he was leaving for home, he realized he had given her £5, and he realized the money he gave her was part of his pay packet from that week's work, and he was worried the serial number could be traced back to him. He hoped it wouldn't be an issue, and it wasn't for a long time. No one was finding Jean's body. Her body was behind a shed, and you want to know something fucked up? Alan never reported her missing. He explained why, but he never reported her missing. On October 9th, Peter and Sonia had friends over for a housewarming celebration at midnight. At midnight, he offered to drive them home, and then he went to Manchester after he drove them home. And he went to Jean's body, and she was still there, but her purse was gone. It was lost. So he dragged her body out from the hiding place, tore her clothes off, and started stabbing her over and over again in a rage. He slashed her stomach 20 times. Mind you, she's been dead for a good little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Her intestines and stomach were exposed at the end of it. When he calmed down, he wanted to make it look less like a ripper.
Mm.
So he took her head to stop her from being identified. He
What
tried.
the fuck?
Well, he did try to take her head, but he failed because he didn't have the proper tools. So he just left her there and went home.
Wow.
On October 10th, 12 hours after he moved her body, she was found by a worker coming into garden. He literally tripped over her body and called the police. DCS Jack Ridgewater knew it was Ripper by the hammer blows to the head and stab wounds. That evening it was on the news, and Alan, when he heard the description, knew it was Jean, and he called the police, and he said, "That's Jean," and said, "I thought she was in Scotland to visit family," because she would do that. She would sometimes just disappear and go see her family in Scotland. Fingerprints matched the victim, and Anna Holt confirmed it was her. It was 5 days later when someone found Jean's purse. It was 150 feet away from where her body was first discovered, with the £5 note still in it. They were able to trace the bill to Shipley and Bingley's in West Yorkshire.
Oops.
And they went to all the places that the company owned and interviewed 5,000 men. And when they started to interview Peter's job, he was interviewed, but he was told he was at a housewarming party, and there was an alibi for him. The police never followed up on his alibi. And yet again, he got away with everything.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we're going to get to the. I think it's too long. We're not going to get to the most horrendous murder that he committed. I mean, everything he's committed is horrendous. This one is particularly brutal. I don't think we're going to get to it because that I think she's like victim 10, and I think we're on like victim 7.
Oh wow.
We got 3 more murders before we get to the brutal one.
I mean, we can always make this a part 2.
We're gonna have to make it a part 2.
Okay.
This is gonna have to, unless you want it to be 4 hours long.
No, I'm good. I would like to sleep at some point. So
yeah.
Okay.
Unless you want to pre-record for next week.
That's up to you. I mean, it's
we'll pre-record if you want to. Do you feel up to pre-recording?
by next week I'll be up to pre-recording.
Okay.
So like I said, this cold hit me just like yesterday.
And the reason I'm asking is so like next Sunday you can have off.
Yeah.
That's what, like after we're done recording this.
Yeah, because I mean, we're gonna be doing a lot of pre-recording next year.
Yeah.
And March, April. So
yeah.
I mean, and we'll put this as a part. This one will be the part 1, and I'll add that to the description.
Yeah, because we're on 19 out of 38 pages.
And she said that there's 38 pages. So I mean,
Yeah, and I tried to go as fast as I could. This is a brutal case. He is a brutal man. He is a monster.
yeah, he is definitely
I
a
mean,
monster.
and the police are not helping the case. The police, I think,
They need to get their poop together, huh, Willow?
if here's the thing. You know what could have helped them find him faster? If they took that tire imprint
Yeah.
and they compared it, you know, the one that they left 20,000 people left uninterviewed, and they compared it to the company he worked for.
Yeah.
Because you're going to find out, I'll tell you this. In England, when they paid in the 70s,
Yeah.
when they pulled from banks, they would get all the money out at once because they would actually pay with cash.
Yeah.
So they would pull all the money out at once, and the numbers, the banknotes were serialized, and the banks would then write, oh, this serial number to this serial number is going to this company.
Mm.
So that's why it was such a big deal. He had given her a £5 note from his.
Because the banks keep track of it.
Because the banks keep track of it. Hence why they were able to track the note to
Love you much.
his company. And they interviewed him. They talked to him. But he was like, nah, I was at a housewarming party. Wow. Did the police follow up? Did the police go, was he actually at a housewarming party at like 1 a.m.? Oh no, he had just finished dropping you off? Oh. Okay. His alibi don't match up.
Yeah.
No. Just another shortfall of the Yorkshire police.
As you know, they don't have anything else better to do but sit there. Go to a pub.
Yeah.
Drink every once in a while.
Might as well. Didn't do shit.
Jack diddly squat.
Mm-hmm.
You have to remember where you leave off. Page 19.
Yeah. I literally figured out the best place to cut it off because the next paragraph begins with, so this episode we're finishing up with his murders.
Yeah.
Because that's right. He's still killing.
You know what's funny is she told me when she was writing one of them the other day, she was just writing how she felt about some of the things. She's like, I think I'm going to delete that. Nope, leave it in there. Leave it in there. Tell people how you feel.
That was the happy face killer.
Yeah, and she's all like, that's because he's a little bitch, is what she said.
I think I wrote he's a pathetic
Willow, what are you eating? Stop eating shit.
I think in the happy face killer, I wrote he's a pathetic little bitch boy.
Yeah, and that was pretty funny. She's like, maybe I shouldn't put that. Nope, you should. Just leave it in there.
You would actually be surprised about what I write in my case things, but I just don't say them.
No, she doesn't, and she should from here on out. If you think she should, you like give a thumbs up in the comments because I think she should.
I try to, but I also try to be objective. I want you guys to come up with your own conclusions. Does anyone else enjoy putting the boba in the straw and then trying to get as many boba as you can in the straw?
No. We're not you.
Because I really enjoy doing that. And then
I'm not afraid to do our broccoli for lunch.
Okay. We will let you guys go.
Mm-hmm.
We will see you either this will be pre-recorded or for next week, or
we're just gonna jump into
we'll do live. We don't know.
Nope, because we don't know what's going on.
No. And then we'll have a Q&A and something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I will try to add my little opinions in the future, Angela.
Because I think that'd be cool. And whenever we are able to and we get the right equipment, I can start adding in my own, but it's going to be like, hello, McFly.
I think that might be easier to do, like, what if we pre-record?
It would. We need a computer. I see. I would do it off a CapCut. I had to get rid of it because I wasn't going to pay for it. Because it was like a premium. Yes, it was free, and I did use it at times when it was free. But if I want to do those type of things, I have to pay for it.
Yeah.
I'd rather get me a really good computer that I can sit there and do that on. And you hear Grandpa?
Scared the
You
shit
hear
out of me.
Grandpa? Why'd you move your blanket again? We have this discussion all the time. He's not here yet. We're gonna unlock the door though, so he can get in. But I think having good equipment,
Yeah.
whether it's like the freestanding microphones instead of wearing these things, because you probably get tired of hearing me eat and
All that
crunching
fun
ice.
jazz, yeah. I can like when you're talking, I can like have like mozzarella sticks.
ASMR mozzarella stick. But getting those stand up like microphones and whatnot, and then just having a great overall setup to where whether we pre-record, I can go through and be like, okay, sit with you, rewatch it, and be like, all right, let's add this sound to this part because it'd be really good.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but that would take a few days of editing.
So we'll have to record on like the night. Get our days off together.
Yes. So that way we can get it done and then be able to when we're going to pre-record. Maybe pre-record like on a Saturday or something like that, and then. And I'm sorry that last week's
took a while to upload.
Last week's took a while to upload because I don't know why. Every time I go to upload it, I would even leave my phone plugged in and leave the YouTube thing up, and it finally uploaded yesterday. So it finally got uploaded. So pre-recording kind of takes a little longer to upload, but that's okay. But yeah, so either it'll come down to either get a laptop, something like that, to where we can record.
Yeah.
From the laptop, and then I can just go in and play with it and do stuff to it. Like I used to do when I was doing my videos in the computer. I could add things in there, and it was on that Canva. I was using that all the time, and I would do Happy Holidays with music, trying to time it to it, all that stuff, and that was fun to do, and that was free. But then they had a lot more things that you could use to, put to it. So,
but yeah, so tune in for next week. Heads up, you might want a puke bucket.
Why do I need a puke bucket? Can you just not go that graphic?
It's not even that it's graphic, Michelle. It's just that it's horrible.
I mean, my stomach can handle a lot of things except for yesterday when Vomit Sally over there on the floor decided to throw up 3 times and we cleaned it up.
I will, good night, Angela. I will admit, too, when the dog threw up, that also made me gag. I've never gagged when Hermione's thrown up before.
It's gross.
But yesterday was a whole different story.
Yeah. And maybe mine was because I'm sick and I could smell it, and that was gross, even worse.
Yeah.
But so yeah, we'll let you guys go. Have a good night. Thank you, Angela,
Good
and tell
night.
Thomas we said thank you for joining, and
tell,
congratulations again to the kiddo for graduating.
Tell his youngest congratulations.
So we love you all. We're almost there. We just need 19 more subscribers and we'll hit 200. You'll know when we hit 200 because we should make a poster board or get balloons.
Yeah.
I was looking through some of the videos on this channel, and because I merged A&M History and J.A.M Adventures, I like the merger because I was looking at some of the stuff last night. We had one video got 27,000 views. So I was like, what the crap, man? So we'll get there. We definitely will. Love you all. See you next week. You'll know if it is pre-recorded. It'll all depend on how I feel.
Yeah.
I should feel much better by next week. This hit me out of nowhere yesterday. So as long as I rest, take it easy, don't do anything stupid. Like go outside when it's cold. I should be all right. But all right, guys. We will see you later. See you next week.
Bye, guys.
Love you all. And you got Willow who's coming in on the video finally. With the hi? No. Okay, fine. All right, guys. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.